Hello guys, welcome to the Train Parrot. We're gonna do an update on SUI. We have had a breakdown on the daily and that momentum continues to decline. On the weekly, we have had a breakout and we are doing a retest. So it's very interesting times for SUI. We're gonna look into some news. Where are the liquidation pools, the levels that we need to defend if we are in the season of a pullback and retest. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to get notified every time we put out one of these videos. Can we get 1,000 likes in this video? That will be phenomenal for the YouTube algorithm. And guys, if you're looking for an exchange to trade non-KYC, that means just 30 seconds to open an account and actually you get $50 for free as soon as you open it, even before depositing, then look no further than 2bit, which is precisely where I'm hosting this trading competition. Get your account and trade with me. You have still 25 days to join the $3 million pool competition. Right, so on the daily time frame, I was saying that we had a breakdown that started happening from around the 23rd of July. We call this area a potential incoming channel to the downside. And so far, despite the fact that we have exit from the top in here with something that looks like a revenge rally, we are still putting lows. And that means that we are in a channel to the downside on the daily. This could mean that we are gonna do some bullish consolidation or some downside and look up for areas of retest on the weekly time frame. That we're gonna look into that chart slightly later. The revenge rally that we have in here with an RSI of 68 was just enough to grab the biggest pool of liquidity next to the price, but not enough to continue to the upside so far. We have left on the table pools that span from around $4.5 into 4.8, and we cannot see really what's above that because the tool doesn't show me liquidity. But I'm gonna tell you, right above $5.5 into $6.5, there must be the largest liquidity pool for SUI. I'm sure about that. And we're gonna see that if this extension from the lows of 1.7 into 4.4 and then bouncing off the lows of 2.3 gives us the extension of 1, that means this rally matches the strength of that rally or the length, then we could wipe that immediate liquidity that ends at $5. If we go with the golden pocket and things get more bullish, we could get into $6.6. At that point, we take also the liquidity that was formed with the previous high. To call for the lowest hanging fruit in here, I think there is a good chance that we take it. The 1.618 is still on the table, but to get us there, we really need to do bullish consolidation in this area and not let this drag of the daily time frame on the RSI to break in any way too deeply the structure that is still very bullish on the daily. Now, if we go on the RSI weekly, this is where I left you with the last update on SUI. We were talking about reaching resistance here at 57. We managed to break that slightly higher and put a new higher high. That structure on the weekly is quite bullish in my opinion. But despite the fact that it's bullish, we cannot neglect the fact that this potential rally into the top of the range of the weekly, which is the best that we can hope for, still has a few things that don't look as healthy as the previous two rallies. That doesn't mean that we cannot get any higher. That doesn't mean that is necessarily the end of everything, but it should give us a little bit more of realistic expectations of how things could play out for this specific rally. The nature of it is very different from multiple point of views. For example, if you look at the support of the first rally on the RSI, that was with a slope of 66. That means that it was extremely pronounced, very parabolic move straight into the top of the range, and the end of it was also very clean. Breakdown, come back down. It was a textbook rally and a textbook breakdown with a reset, with a double bottom. What else can you expect for? Really tradable. But then things started shifting because that slope of 66 then reduced into 55 and then it lost this support. So that's where things start getting a little bit gray for what we are currently experiencing with SUI. We broke that support, then we started this rally that I speculate that was going to be held by this line thanks to touching these two pivots, the RSI reached 60 and then it broke that support. So I'm very, very tempted, guys, to move this line in here and to say that this rally is not going to be as pronounced as the previous one because we lost support and things are getting noisy in here. So we have a higher high, but now thanks to moving the line lower, we have lower expectations as well. What do I mean by that? Well, we have some additional headroom for these less pronounced expectations of a trade into 81. Let's say this comes back down into 47 for finding support or anywhere in between. We can still say, well, that's a higher low. We can still carry on moving at a slower pace into the highs. Now, breaking down below 47, well, that is going to fully confirm that this rally is meant to be just crap. But as long as we hold decent levels of higher lows, well, we can secure ourselves another push with a higher high on the RSI. Let's look into the price, and before we actually fully focus on price, let's move those levels of RSI so we can see where they are located. Number one, that 47 support in white, and then we could say that 35.28, and then the 81 at the top end. Let's just use those. So if we hold that support, that means going to a price of 2.8. That's how we have now relaxed things to allow for this to come around here to retest. And if you look at this structure, you know, it doesn't look like crazy, right? Because it's been with this quality. If it remains with that quality, a retest of 2.8 could still hold. That is what the RSI is saying. Now, we have to be a little bit more aggressive as well and think, well, what are the levels that are more bullish? What are the levels if we defend, we secure ourselves a straight continuation up instead of all this lag of having to go to 2.8? We're going to look at what liquidations there are in between 3.7, the current price, and that 2.8 in case we have to go that low. But if we defend 3.8, that is the most bullish area that we can defend. We have already done a great job on the first week. On the second, if we close in red and we put a wick down, but we reclaim 3.8, that is the most bullish close that we can hope for. Follow by doing the same thing, but against 3.4. Now, if we go to 2.8, and we defend this white line and we defend as well the RSIs that we talk about, then we can go next into the extension of 1, which is the $5. We need to be a little bit more realistic and we need to downgrade the chances that we go straight into $6.6, the golden pocket extension of this move, which actually coincides with this longer move back down into 1.7, which has a ratio of 1 extension that matches the golden pocket of the smaller move. Now that 85 is currently located at $10, the 85 of the RSI weekly on the top of the range. So it is definitely worth that we defend this structure and we start going up without losing that 47. Now at this speed, guys, thanks to the downgrade that we did with the line, we are not gonna make it to 81 on time, in my opinion, because basically a move like this can reach the final level around February 2026. If you think we can do that by then, there were some coins pumping in 2021 in February, definitely, but there were many others that were already giving up into the bear market by that time. I'm not saying it's impossible, but in order to prevent that slow scenario, we really need to start speeding up in this area. And by doing that, the way to achieve that is by putting in here the highest lower high that we can do in the price. Let's defend the 3.8 or worst case the 3.4, and let's not go to 2.8 because that confirms that this rally is very slow and is affected by something, and people get disappointed by that and they're gonna see that it's not as good as this and they might throw the towel, which is gonna contribute to bring lower levels of longs. On the longs, we have done something magnificent, right? We have reclaimed the support of 49, which was the support of the 2 previous rallies on the weekly. We lost that level, and this is the condition that we currently have. But if we manage to do similar moves, for example, this move in here, we could reach 68 from these new lows on the longs, and that's definitely going to help to keep pushing on the RSI better. Ideally, we want to defend that 2.49 with longs and not come back in here, because that calls for the longs also to throw the towel and to put a new low. That is definitely gonna be terrible for SUI. Socials are spiking almost to a new all-time high. SUI has put social dominance of 2.18. That's the maximum, and now we are at 2.15, about to put a new all-time high. We need to go and see what is driving the fuss. Finance firm Mill City Ventures to buy 441 million in SUI tokens, pivoting to a crypto treasury. First Nasdaq listed company to build a corporate SUI treasury. 98% of a 450 million raise earn mark for SUI purchases signals fresh institutional demand directly for the token. IKA Network debuts SUI smart contracts can manage cross-chain assets. This is a 7 out of 10. The previous one was a 9 out of 10. Very bullish. New interoperability primitive D-wallet cap on SUI plus MPC network lets SUI apps control assets on other chains without bridges. Expands real utility flows that can accrue, never heard that word, to SUI. 6 out of 10. SUI total value lock and derivatives open interest hits records. Analysts eye move towards $8. Wow. On-chain total value lock 2.28 billion and futures open interest to 66 billion. Point to sustain demand and leverage specifically in SUI markets. Constructive technical setup. Watch out, because the open interest also implies volatility. Yes, it means that is becoming popular and people want to trade it. You want that, but at the same time be aware that the more open interest, the more volatility. Of course, on the other end, that 2.28 billion of total value lock is a positive thing. That means that you're building good pillars because the value is actually locked. That's what it precisely means. That is not necessarily going to move in the short term. You only need to watch out for when are the unlocks about to happen. If there's a huge unlock coming in, then you need to keep an eye on those as well. And when it comes to on-chain from CryptoQuant, is highlighting the same things that we are seeing all across the board with multiple coins, specifically the top market cap that we've been analyzing this week. Most of them have a spot taker CVD in the red. That means that sellers, aggressive ones, are selling in spot. But in this case, SUI also has the same things in futures, and we can see the longs, how they've been pushing down in here, not by a lot, still holding the support, but they are dominant, the aggressive sellers, both on perpetuals and spot at the moment. That can of course change. When it comes to short-term liquidity, we took it all. After reaching 4.4, there were big positions opening right there, probably wanting to trade that liquidation. You can see at 4.4, we have now the largest liquidity pool, and that is because someone entered right there on the expectation of trading this liquidation. On the lower end, we have that 2.8 large liquidity pool and the 2.6 sitting right there, and that could be the narrative to bring this RSI precisely to 47, which is where we liquidate those longs, and that is supporting this rally to be slower than before. So keep that in your risk management. Do not keep that as a specific target that must happen. Remember, I say anywhere from here and there is a healthy pullback. I think SUI has upside. SUI is looking from the point of view of fundamentals and hype really bullish, but we have to admit that this rally is slightly different. It could be just warming up for something incoming, but so far is definitely not showing the same nature of the previous two rallies. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.